The only thing on my mind during that meditation to start was the breathwork session that I had the honor of attending this morning from you, where it's just like, just kept coming up in my meditation over and over again, just now, during those 5 minutes. Just, you have such a gift, man, for leading people through breathwork, for guiding people. I've experienced it now twice, and both times I was like, wow, Nick leaning into this is gonna make huge ripples throughout the world.
Thank you. Thank you, brother. I was happy to have you there this morning. You're the only one with your camera on, so I was able to see your shoulders and where you're breathing from and what's your pace and pick up a lot of stuff. It's good intel for me. So everyone else has got their cameras off, so I'm like shooting in the dark a little bit, but I appreciate that a lot. It's something that I'm really leaning into fully right now.
So I have so many questions on that, on how you got started in breathwork. But just
well, I have a question. What was coming up when you were meditating specifically? Just now.
Just now.
Yeah.
Was wow. Nick is so gifted at.
Okay, so nothing specific about. Okay, yeah.
No, just about that session of being so excited for you to start that journey and so excited to talk to you about it. That's just what kept coming up. But I was like, all right, that's how I'm starting the podcast, by talking about Nick's virtual breathworks that he's hosting every Monday at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. Is that set?
That's set for now, yeah.
Set for now.
Monday Vortex.
And how can people?
My Instagram or my Twitter, I'll be posting about that and getting the links out on a weekly basis. Also, my newsletter subscribers will get the blast. So
cool.
I'm figuring out my infrastructure. That's why I hired my brother.
Jack Sweeney gets a shout out.
Yeah.
2 minutes into this podcast.
And Moses, yeah. God.
Yes. The Jags. The Jags running our operation.
Yes. Yep. I'm the disorganized one. So, but that's how people will, I want to be doing, 2 times a week might be a little much, but at least once a week for anyone. And they're going to be different ones. There's going to be ones that are for focus, but I also might start incorporating like Sunday healing breathworks, Friday kind of integration breathworks. Like, all right, what happened this week? Let's tie this knot before you go into the weekend type. I love manipulating energy. So there's so many things you can do with the breath. So doing once a week right now for free, guided, feels so aligned.
I've never before, you led us through this breath work, and then you went to this where you guided us to look at our brain and pay attention to the left side of our brain and the right side of our brain. And I've never experienced that sensation before. And I was like, what the fuck is happening? I was like, is this real? Like, I can literally feel my left side of my brain. I can literally feel my right side. I can literally feel the energy going from my brain to my heart as you directed us. It's like, I've never been guided in this way to do a breath work like this, where I could feel all the energy throughout my body.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go from waking up, meditating, to doing that breath work, to posting our episode together, episode 1 of Living in Alignment, the series. This is now episode 2, to then going on a run and listening to the episode that I just published, and now recording this podcast, getting a cacao. It's like, bro.
Perfect day.
Genuinely.
That's so funny.
Yeah. So I guess what I'm curious about to dive into for you is like, when did this start of knowing, oh, the breath and me are aligned? As he takes a breath.
Take a breath, hold a breath, think about it. We've all been breathing since we popped out. So everyone's got their own unique journey. My journey was really that I was always moving. So it was mostly like exercise. cross country ski racer, training like 500 plus hours a year, just mostly cardio, mostly breathing. So that's always been integral, and grew up at, high elevation, and just breathing was kind of there. And my mom named me Iron Lung as my Native American name.
Iron Lung.
Yeah. Which is fitting.
I would say so.
Fitting based on the family constellation exercise too, but we won't get into that because that was crazy.
That's an episode for another day.
Yeah, that was wild. So the point is, in college and even prior to college, the year I took off of high school, I skied full time and I concussed myself. I broke my collarbone, was going through it, breakup, blah, blah, blah. Was dabbling in breathwork and ice bath, Wim Hof style. And then I was always like buying breathing devices that you could use for endurance training to increase VO2 max, and nasal things that opened up your nasal passages for you to be breathing while you're training or racing, yada, yada, yada. And got to freshman year, was just using it as sort of recovery intuitively, in the shower before or after training, like take a cold shower after training, do a round or two of Wim Hof in the shower, and then get dressed to go to class, like not thinking too much of it. But I did have the seeds were being planted freshman year of, oh, this is really, really potent when I hold my breath on the exhale for a minute and a half every day.
Was there like a moment that you noticed a big difference, or was just the first time you did it, or around the first time you're like, this is happening, something is happening here that is different than how I normally feel?
My first collegiate race, I ended up getting disqualified, but I also technically raced to the best result I've ever had. I was like 11th in North America for the sprint qualifier.
Wow.
And the night before,
how many people?
I don't know. I don't remember. Maybe it was like 50 of the best guys in the country.
Wow.
And in Canada. Mm-hmm. And the night before, I went out in the snow, in the woods, in my bathing suit, and flip-flopped for 15 minutes on the snow, breathing. Basically just hyperventilating, cyclic hyperventilation, Wim Hof style. And then the next day, I literally couldn't feel the hills. It's like, I'm so light. My legs feel so light, so like quick today. And I just went out and crushed it. I also got DQ'd, but crushed it. And that was a big moment where I was like, oh, this is some powerful. I just tapped into something happened to my body from 9 p.m. last night to 9 a.m. this morning. Then I raced, and it was my first race as a freshman. I beat everyone on my team. Like, I was like, wow, whoa, what just happened? Because I don't think that was just my whole summer of training. I think that had to do with the ice, the snow last night, the adrenaline. That was one big light bulb moment. The other really big light bulb moment was later on in college when I was injured, and 10 months after having not been able to walk properly, and doctors like, it's over. I started doing breath work every day, and after about like a month and a half in, I decided to focus on my right foot the entire 30 minutes. Just only my right foot, lasered for 30 minutes. Just lasered on the right foot. And then at the end, with the back of my hand, because the back of your hand is more sensitive to heat, I tested the left, tested the right. I was like, oh, my right foot is so much hotter than my left. And it looks different. It's more like puffy. It's more red. So that was the big thing where I was like, oh, I can legitimately consciously direct energy within my body. And that's when things started really accelerating quickly.
And those are two experiences in college. And now we are 5 years removed from college, 4 years removed from college?
Mm-hmm. Technically 3 years.
3 years from college.
Yep.
Okay. So, and then at what point do you start saying, I'm going to start teaching this or want to teach this to other people?
Yeah. So it's a loaded question, because it's recently really is when I've stepped into like, oh, in person, online, live, guided breathwork course. Like, I quit my job in July, and I was already leaning very heavily into breathwork, but recently, past 3 months, 2 months, it's been really ingraining in my soul and feeling so aligned. And I cannot stop thinking about stuff. I keep having these intuitive ideas of how to, like that's a perfect metaphor to talk about on a breathwork guided call. Or my mind's always been doing that. That's why I started writing on Twitter. But now it's like really center line locked in on like exactly what someone needs to probably hear about breathwork. And 3 months, call it past 3 months, when I've really stepped into like, oh, this is like my gift.
Well,
which is such a crazy feeling. I've never had that feeling kind of in my life. Even about ski racing, it was never like, oh, this is my gift.
This is my gift.
Like, this is not my reason for being. This is just a vehicle for me to like show to myself that like I'm worthy of like love and power and position. All this stuff is very like juvenile pursuit.
Survival.
This is like, oh yeah, this is it.
It's such an incredible feeling.
Yeah.
And it makes sense from my perspective, because when I'm listening and going through the breath work with you, and Leo said this, one of our friends who was on the breath work this morning, you're giving the perfect instruction at the perfect time with no wasted words. And it just allows you to follow so clearly. And there's so much trust that I have in you when you're speaking, even if you are a random stranger, just the way your voice sounds, how you're saying it, the energy you're giving into it. It's like, okay, of course this is his gift. Of course this is what he's supposed to do. If he's been doing this for 10 years and it's helped him, right? So
it's way different to do it for yourself and then you do that for others, because every single person breathes differently. And every single person's nervous system is calibrated to a way different, like wherever they're at. And it depends on the day too. And so for me, I'll sit down and hit the mat and do my own breath work. And I know exactly what I need intuitively. Need energy, need to release some charge from the nervous system, relax, parasympathetic, like I know. And so there is this like trust fall that happens where it's like, let me just take you for this ride and trust me. And also trust yourself coinciding with the whole practice, and trust what feels good to you. And if you don't want to breathe that way, breathe however you want to breathe. But it becomes tricky because some people need to breathe a certain way to retrain the way they breathe, because the way they breathe is keeping them anxious and stuck and hyperventilating and that kind of thing. And so there's this flow versus deliberate learning that I'm dealing with. And it's such a beautiful thing to be able to hold people through like every step of the way. Like, oh yeah, if I see you on the camera, I can be like, oh yeah, put your shoulders back.
That's what I was about to ask.
Whatever.
What we're fucking one mind. What do you notice when I'm breathing? Like, what, God's honest truth, I've never been into breath work. I've never studied it like you have. Obviously, you're a fucking expert. What did you notice if you're just like, if I'm a coaching client coming to you of being like, how am I breathing? How am I breathing incorrectly? How am I breathing correctly? Like, break it down for me. What you noticed if I'm on that, if we have a session right after that breath.
Yeah. I only saw your upper thorax. But I will say that
What's a thorax?
it's like this it's this
Chest area?
Yeah.
Break it down. Like
Diaphragm. We got the diaphragm. We got the abdomens. We got the intercostal muscles. We got the clavicle. We got it all going on. But it's centric around the diaphragm, and the diaphragm's usually the limiting factor for people breathing. It's not so much your lung capacity; it's that your posture is super important, and your posture is going to dictate what state your nervous system's in, how well you're breathing. It all comes down to breathing, like on a moment by moment basis. And so for you, I've noticed you're very slow, light, smooth breather, just hanging out with you. It's like you don't hear yourself breathing, and you're breathing chill and slow, and it's a really good sign of health. For the breath work this morning, like my only advice would be like keep the tension slack in your traps, your shoulders, your clavicle. Like, don't breathe up when you inhale. Try not to pull your shoulders up with you. Keep your shoulders down and keep your shoulders back, and breathe into the sternum first. It's like sternum, and then your stomach kind of catches the lungs as you breathe into your sternum. And that abdomen is your gas pedal, but we breathe into the full abdomen, global expansion. You're breathing out this way, left and right, forward and backwards, full 360 circumferential breathing. And that, whilst keeping your shoulders down, will allow the lungs to like fill in here and all these places they don't fill in. They're going to fill into below your clavicles. And you're now training you're stretching your lungs now, especially if you were to breathe in and then you pull your stomach in and your lungs are full. The air has nowhere to go. So the lungs expand into this upper chest cavity, which makes it so that I can do breathing exercises and have a better VO2 max than like endurance runners. Because I'm just literally like stretching my lungs where people normally don't even have air fully expanding into. Your tip is just keep your shoulders back and down.
I love that.
And on the inhale, you can even move your shoulders back and down simultaneously as you inhale. So which actually makes breathing easier.
Oh, interesting. Like bring your shoulders in when you exhale, which is not what you would think, because you would think you just want to breathe straight up with your posture straight. But you're suggesting bring your posture straight when you are inhaling, and then when you're exhaling, bring your shoulders in like you're contracting.
Yes, think of it like a cat-cow. Very subtle cat-cow, and you can make it super legit cat-cow too with your inhales, like all the way up, and then exhale, and you're just getting the movement through the spine. It's an active recovery workout, and you're letting your body breathe for you instead of your mind. So your mind is not making the command as hard. It's just your mind telling your body to move instead of your lungs to breathe, if that makes sense. So shoulders and chest out, shoulders back. A lot easier to breathe in. And that's why it's like we're creating tension on the inhale, and then you're fully going slack on the exhale. Exhale, purest expression of surrender. Last breath on this planet, last breath in the world will be an exhale before your dying breath will be an exhale. So that's a whole other conversation.
I know,
but
seriously.
That is a physical expression of surrender and acceptance. And you lean into that and you begin to hardwire the neural circuitry of like, my brain and body know that when I release tension on the exhale, all is good and my nervous system's safe. Comes muscle memory, automated.
And you said something before about how you noticed how I breathe just in normal day-to-day life. And I'm curious if you can go around life, you go on a date and you know how the woman's breathing, or you go on like, you just see how the cashier and you see how they're breathing, and you can see their nervous system from their breath. Is that something you see? Is that something that you're picking up on in just like day-to-day interactions if you spend a lot of time with someone?
Yeah, 100%.
And what does that say about me, about how I breathe, and other people, how they breathe, and how do you breathe, and what's the subtle, because you're spending all day breathing. And so, and we often don't think about that. I'm certainly not thinking about that 99% of the time, except when I'm in a meditation sometimes, or when I'm guided to do a breath work. So I'm just curious, you're picking up on information about me that I'm not even aware of, which is similar to me picking up information on like someone's mental state just on their energy. But I'm just curious from that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's not about seeing, it's just about feeling the resonance of someone's nervous system near you, or you're connected to someone's nervous system. I'm connected to yours right now. You can be connected to a lot of people's all at once because you could be stuck on a subway. So like, dude, that goes so deep. That question goes so deep because it's just, I'd rather feel someone's energy and be tapped into like the feeling. What is the resonance of their energy? And it's real. You have an electromagnetic biofield that we're all picking up on subconsciously. But if we make the unconscious conscious, then I can be like, oh, Danny's like a little tired today.
Right.
Which is what I picked up on this morning.
I could feel that. I know that's... Bro, it's like we're tapped into each other's fields. I was tired, and I also noticed it wasn't just about being tired. Tired was one thing, but then there was also the piece of I'm posting on social media about the episode going live, and I'm checking notifications, and I have all this inbound coming in, and there's this added sense of, okay, I want to respond to people's messages. Okay, what did that person say? I'm a little less present. And I just noticed that in myself of like, I have less space. And that's interesting. And let's record a podcast and let's figure out what this is going to look like and be. But this would happen all the time in, I don't know, let's call it 2022, 2023. And now I'm intimately aware of the difference between how I felt this today, seeing you, versus how I felt, let's call it last Monday when we recorded an episode.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also, I'm on 5 hours of sleep. And so there's the whole other piece, and I had a long weekend, and there's so many factors to it.
Yeah.
But that's what you're picking up on.
I mean, I think that a lot of communication is body language, like we talked about last time with the horse and that whole craziness. But it's like I look at your face, and I instantaneously, I know, and I don't know. That's what Suzette said about me. It's like I can read people quick, speed, but I don't hold any judgment. I'm like, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. Right. Who knows where he's at really? Because bags under the eyes can mean a lot of things. Can mean you're doing too many ice baths. It can mean you're breathing too much. It can mean you're working out too much. It can mean you have vitamin K deficiency, blah, 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 blah. But like just knowing your energy too, it's about connecting nervous systems, connecting heart to heart. The center core of your nervous system is the heart. So really connecting to someone's core and feeling it, even visualizing it, having this sort of open heart visualization to an animal and connecting nervous systems with an animal or person is something that you can become way more attuned to because it's a feeling. And if you become connected to your own nervous system, where am I at? How much charge do I have? What's my BPMs at the moment? How many breaths per minute and how many beats per minute? How much tension? Where is the tension? And then also mentally, cerebrally, I've got DMs, I got emails, I got Telegram, I got Twitter, I got all these things scattering my consciousness. And then you can just call on the breath and just accumulate consciousness back, get back into the body and restart. It's like the restart of my life. And you can now ride the waves skillfully. You make the unconscious conscious, and you're just breathing normally, and your body's responding to whatever the environment is. But you can then command your body to respond a different way through the breath. It's like gives you such a degree of control over your body's energies. That's what's so fascinating too, because that's peak performance. It's like control, continence. How do I respond, not react in a business meeting or competition, conversation? How do I just actually like reverberate with someone projecting stress on me too in the moment? Like I have a fair amount of guys that are like in the arena, coaches, athletes, everyone's projecting stress, their own insecurities. They're just walking vessels of stress looking for an outlet. And then they're projecting their own insecurities from when they were an athlete on the World Cup and they messed it up and they couldn't do it. So then they're projecting it onto, my guy. And I'm like, well, how do you handle that? You have to like be resilient in your frequency, but also know how to navigate that so that you don't get like dragged down. That's why being around people is so important. Who do you spend your time with? What nervous systems are you connected to?
Yeah. And I was actually thinking about this yesterday of, for me, what gives me so much power is knowing and being able to see people for who they are and what their actions are actually saying about them at a deeper level. For example, if the coach gets really upset at the player, I can see, oh, this is unprocessed stuff from his life, and he doesn't know how to sit with this emotion. He didn't like sitting with this emotion when he was a player. And so I can understand that and see that, and that gives me an enormous level of peace. Because if I see a TSA agent get really upset at someone, or vice versa, a person getting upset at a TSA agent, I'm like, okay, there's things that they haven't dealt with that are under the surface of everything. They're not actually mad at the TSA agent. They're mad that they're cheating on their wife and that they don't want anyone to know about it. And now they're saying, okay, how do I use this anger that I'm feeling at myself to someone else? Mm-hmm. So seeing that gives me so much grace for people, peace, understanding. I see you more maybe than you're seeing yourself. And I see myself more than I was seeing the previous version of myself. So that when I'm coming in here with bags under my eyes and I'm coming in here with less energy, I understand where I'm coming from. I'm not upset at myself. I'm not angry.
Still a lot of energy.
There's a lot of power.
There's a lot of energy still.
There's in the reserves in the tank because I've done the work today. Now imagine I didn't meditate. I didn't do breath work. I didn't run. Okay, now that's a different human being that's coming to this podcast studio, right? So just knowing the field, knowing yourself helps you know others and see others in a deeper way.
You can only care for yourself as much as you care for others.
Video King Pablo just made that as a clip.
I haven't even listened to the pod, so I just remembered that from last time. But yeah. What has, in your experience, been the most impactful thing or daily routine to, like, when you're down and out, when you're not hungover, obviously. You're tired.
Hungover, yeah.
You're whatever.
Yeah.
What do you do? Meditate. What's the break ice?
Meditate.
Okay. Break glass.
I break glass, meditate. Just sit with yourself. Just be with what is. And it's the most important practice that I do, that I could do. Even when we were driving over, I was saying in my head, I'm so excited to sit down and meditate. It's like my life has become one big meditation. But it really is the most important thing for me. Then move the body. I have to move the body. If I don't move the body, then I'm not who I'm going to be. Mm-hmm. So if I move the body, I woke up this morning tired. It's like, all right, meditate, breath work, move body. You'll be in a different state. You'll be in a more aligned state than you would be if you just press snooze right now. So just do the thing that you know is good for you. It's really simple, but it compounds in such a crazy way. I've meditated now 200 days in a row. It's like, that's a lot of time to meditate every single day in a row with no breaks, with the consistency. That's just going to do something different to your body, to your nervous system, to your being, it just makes me feel so much lighter. So that's where I go to. That's my happy place. That's my peaceful place. And I'm grateful for that.
So that's like 600 hours, 6,000 hours.
I don't know how many hours.
30 minutes.
I mean,
for 200 days.
I don't know the exact minute. It might be 30 minutes, but I know I've meditated for 9,000 something minutes in the last 6 months or 7 months, something like that. So what is that?
Nice.
Math wizard.
9,000 times what?
9,000 divided by 60.
Bro, you're putting me on the spot.
We could get out our calculator.
300?
I don't know. Yeah.
Let's try that. If I just nailed that, I'm walking out.
Don't walk out. We need you.
I'm not going to walk out.
9,000 divided by 60, 150 hours over the last 6 months, 7 months since I've started tracking. So you meditate for 150 hours. You're a different human being.
Why do you think people hate meditating?
I know, right? I think that I was thinking about this yesterday. Why?
I have a good idea, but I want to know you.
I think they don't like themselves. They don't like what they're thinking. And so they think they're doing it wrong because they don't like being with themselves. And if you don't like yourself, and I was thinking about this as related to breath work, because breath work in some way gets you to not think about yourself. You're doing an active thing that is, I'm not thinking about myself. So guess what? I can just be in the, I was like, my dad would love this. And my dad has told me he loves breath work. So if there is some part of you that doesn't like being with yourself and is critical of yourself and is just beating yourself up, which my inner voice does not do, and really it has done in the past, but not so much so that it becomes overwhelming. I think that's why people don't gravitate towards it. And they're scared of it because they don't like themselves, or they don't like what themselves are saying. And they don't have the tools to go deeper on, why am I saying this? I always assumed that why I was saying that was because it was implanted in me by a teacher, a parent, or a friend from a long time ago. I never actually resonated with that being my voice. What's your interpretation of why people don't like meditation?
I just think that people don't have the tools to deal with the thoughts, because it's like, yeah, just observe your thoughts. It's like, well, my thoughts suck, bro.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And once you get addicted to the progress, then you get addicted, and then you're in it 100%. I would say that
My thoughts suck, bro.
Yeah. I mean, that was me. I was like, that's why I was doing breathwork too, not meditation. I tried to do meditation when the doctor said my career was over. I was doing transcendental meditation where you're repeating a mantra for 20 minutes straight. Pa, ma, pa, ma, over and over and over. And I literally couldn't do it. I couldn't handle it. I was like having like a severe negative reaction physically to it.
Wow.
And then I started doing breathwork and I was like, oh, yep, here we go.
Wow. So do you think in some ways breath work is an intro point to meditation?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah,
Gateway drug.
Gateway drug.
That's why that's why I asked you what you do Mayday situation. For me, it's exercise first, then breath work, then meditation. So I'm going from a full place of sympathetic movement to a pure place of parasympathetic stillness, tranquil, no movement, silence, stillness, darkness. That is a full reset for me. So the breath work is a gateway for sure.
I really think there's something to that. I really think it's the easiest way to get to presence. You don't have to move. You can literally be listening to this podcast right now and just pull up Nick's breathwork that's linked down below. Vortex, done. You don't have to move a muscle. You can literally just change what station you're on the internet.
That's literally what I was just thinking about in our meditation before this podcast was with breathing. A lot of these ancient yogic traditions, their objective, one of their objectives is breathe as little as possible, period, like for as long as you can. And when you're breathing, you're barely breathing. Like if everyone listening was to just exhale all the way right now, and then try to breathe down there, a tiny little circle, tiny little wedding ring, not trying to move, you'll find that you'll keep like climbing up until you have enough oxygen and CO2 where it's like at balance, homeostasis. But the slower you're breathing, the less muscles you're moving, the more present you are. And that's why I love the exhale hold, because the world presses pause. You're literally not moving a muscle. You're not breathing. It's like you're truly pressing pause. Your nervous system that doesn't understand time is now suddenly floating in pure stillness. So sometimes people say like, take a deep breath if you're stressed out. I'm like, you should do the opposite. It's like, yeah, maybe take a deep breath, but then hold your breath. all the way out and hold your breath. When you're holding your breath, suddenly your body's taking this lack of oxygen as an imminent threat, but you remain calm in your mind, collected, in control, believing in yourself. You own your body doesn't own you. Your mind is the manufacturer of your response. And you're responding, not reacting, under control, not listening to the voice of fear that's like, breathe. You're like, no, it's all good. Override, 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 override. That gives people so much power in their minds doing that every single morning that it's like the person cutting you off or projecting stress on you later in the day. It's like, dude, I just stared death directly in the eyes this morning for a minute and a half, holding my breath.
You know, I'm going to the place of progress and the feeling of progress. And I remember when I was consistently doing Wim Hof, what I noticed was, oh, I can hold my breath for a minute. And that's pretty cool. And then I write down 60 seconds. And the next day, oh, I can do it for 75 seconds. The next day, a minute and a half. Holy shit. The next day, I was doing 2 minutes, 3 minutes. I was telling my grandpa, I'm holding my breath for 3 minutes in a row, 4 minutes. He's like, what the fuck? So you're a marathon runner all of his life. And so to hold your breath for 3 minutes or 4 minutes is wild. And that feeling of progress kept me going and made it so that I wanted to do it more. And I'm curious how we can implement that into our systems. Is that true that the longer you can hold your breath, the better that is? Like, because that means that the space in your lungs has more capacity?
It's a complicated question.
Well,
there's a lot of different...
Well, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
Ask the complicated questions.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how much did you breathe before you held your breath? How much oxygen was in your body when you stopped breathing? And that's going to have an effect. And so what's interesting with cyclic hyperventilation, Wim Hof style breathing, is that we get all these resources in the body, life force, prana, chi, oxygen, whatnot, and then you hold your breath, and you hold your breath on the exhale. And in order for that oxygen to go into the cell, in order for the energy to be used in the cell, you need CO2. So you breathe in. All these passengers, did I tell this? No. All these passengers get in, you breathe in a bunch of people, let's say, visualize it. And all these people get onto buses. The oxygen people get onto these buses, hemoglobin. And hemoglobin is this bus transporting all these people around the body. And when you're doing cyclic hyperventilation, Wim Hof, these buses are full because you just loaded up the buses with oxygen. So it becomes a traffic jam.
You lost me.
Okay. People, oxygen. Imagine this. Oxygen comes in and oxygen gets transported by hemoglobin. Passengers on the buses.
Okay.
Now there's suddenly like a lot of buses on the highway. There's a lot of hemoglobin. CO2 is the only thing that will unlink the oxygen from the hemoglobin so the oxygen can go straight into the cell and actually be used. So you do a bunch of cyclic hyperventilation, 30 Wim Hof breaths, and then you exhale, hold. CO2 is rising and releasing all of that oxygen. And it's able to rise to a way, way higher level than if you were to hold your breath right here, right now. You'd have 30 seconds before your body's burning. But because you have so much oxygen, you're still in a more alkaline state, which allows your body to be chill. But your body has the CO2 level of like a mom that's trying to pick a car off of her son that's pinned. You're tapping into that adrenaline, norepinephrine power to heal, and then directing that energy to heal in your body to the left side of the brain, right side of the brain, heart, injury. So all of that to say, it depends on, did you do 50 breaths before your exhale hold? Did you do 0 breaths? Did you exhale hold while you were running? While you were walking?
Let's say it's consistent. Like it was every morning, same exact.
So then we're talking about how much inflammation is in the body. How hard is the body working on a moment by moment basis? Because let's say you did the same exact thing
Mm-hmm.
and you held it for a minute.
Yep.
And then you went out drinking that night and you drank 5 beers and then you woke up in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Your body's like working on overtime to overcome all of the poison that you put in your body. So then you can only go 40 seconds the next day.
Right.
Because that's how your body's using oxygen for energy. So it's how quickly is my body using up all of the oxygen in my body? The part of my body's working, I got a stomach bug, I've got a broken bone. That all takes like energy. It's like not a good word, but parasitic load, if you're an electrician watching. It's like the parasitic load of your stomach bug, of your disease, of your broken bone, that's taking up energy. So then you hold your breath on the exhale hold for 40 seconds because your body's working harder. It uses up more energy on a moment by moment basis. Now, so does that register?
It does, but it doesn't answer the question for me of if I'm holding my breath longer at the end of the month than I am at the start of the month, did I improve anything, or did my lung capacity expand, or did I become more fit in any way?
Yes, 100%. Probably one of the best and definitely the most underrated way to improve your cardiovascular fitness, because what's happening when you hold your breath on the exhale is that your body's like, if Danny doesn't breathe, we're going to die. And we need to create stem cells and EPO and VEGF and growth hormone and all of these natural killer cells to improve what? If you don't have oxygen, what's the thing that needs to be more efficient? Your heart. So it's going to send all these resources that you got from the Wim Hofing to your heart, and then to your brain, and then to your gut, and then to your organs, and then to your muscle tissues, and then to your broken bone, in that order. What is the hierarchy of needs in the body? Heart, number one.
Heart's number one.
Yeah. And so you're improving your heart health every single time you hold your breath on the exhale.
You're improving your heart health every single time you hold your breath on the exhale. My mom needs to hear this because my mom has ran on the treadmill every day pretty much for 30, 40 years after she read a study that showed running 20 minutes on the treadmill or running 20 minutes improves your heart health.
True.
So you're saying right now,
You don't have to run.
you don't have to run.
And it's probably more impactful for you to not always run.
Right. And she doesn't always run.
You're not breaking down your muscle tissues. You're able to sit here and basically when you hold your breath, your heart rate starts plummeting, right? Why do we don't want our heart going 150 BPMs when we're holding our breath? Because your body and your nervous system doesn't understand time. It's just taking the signal from this very moment of Danny stopped breathing. Because you stopped breathing, we need to slow everything down as quickly as possible to conserve the oxygen we do have. Because we don't know. Maybe Danny's underwater. Maybe Danny's in a fire. So your body's always trying to protect you, and you will lose consciousness before your heart stops beating. And we're just simply staring death directly in the eyes. Your body's taking you holding your breath on the exhale as an imminent threat, lethal. And we're calm, teaching the body it's safe, cool, collected, confident. It's all good. You're safe. I know what I'm doing here. I know what I'm doing. Don't worry. Yesterday I pushed it a little bit. My nervous system was like, really, bro? But the point is, your body's still taking that as we need to make everything more efficient because maybe Danny's going to hold his breath again tomorrow. And if we aren't consistently getting better, then maybe we'll die tomorrow.
I see.
Danny holds his breath once a day, every day, but we don't know why. Well, we got to be as fit as we possibly can be to survive.
Okay. So to circle back and what it all means from the practical perspective, on a day-by-day basis, similar to exercise, you can be worse and you can go down in terms of your fitness level. If you do this breath work every day, consistently over a month and track how long you hold your breath, and you hold your breath longer at the end of the month, that means that your fitness is improved, your body is working more efficiently, and you are getting stronger and more adept to take on the circumstances of your life. Did I get that correct?
Yes. Yeah. We improve heart health. We have less beats per minute. We have less breaths per minute. The more you breathe, the quicker you die.
Okay, so now somebody wants to go do a breath work, right? And they're like, fuck yeah, I'd love to do a breath work with Nick. And I'd love for Nick to guide me through that breath work. Vortex breath, best place to start?
Yeah, I would say that the Vortex is the best place to start. That's basically my creation. What's healed me, now what's healed a lot of people, because it's this activation style breathing. And then, so we get all these resources in the body, and then you're going to exhale and hold your breath. And you're going to hold your breath until you can't hold it. And then you hold it a little longer. And then you inhale once. You exhale, hold again. And you hold your breath until you can't hold it. And then you start doing some other types of breath work to center yourself. We breathe really big, really deep in the beginning. That's why it's like you come in from an exercise, from a run, you just sit down and start doing it.
So this is good after an exercise or run. It's good for mornings.
Perfect
Good
for
evenings.
literally any time of the day.
Any time of day.
Yes. Because you end in parasympathetic where you can fall asleep.
And parasympathetic means what for the kindergartners out here?
Parasympathetic means rest and digest. It's the number one place that you want to be in with your nervous system. It's where your zone of genius is. It's where presence is where your ability to overcome all of these things in your life is. Parasympathetic, center line, zoned in. And if you can be parasympathetic all day, except for the times where you're training or, yeah, really it's like working out. If I'm not working out, I'm parasympathetic. 0 point in my nervous system as relaxed as I possibly can be, because that's when I can connect with other nervous systems best and feel people and feel what the energy is in the room. So for anyone who wants to do this, if you want to feel other people too and become more attuned to people's feeling and aura and biofield and whatever you want to call it, you have to first get in touch with yours and understand how to manipulate yours when you are too charged or you're languishing in some fatigue. You know, jumpstart the system a little bit. Vortex breath is perfect because we're going to go sympathetic, fight or flight in the beginning. You're going to train a breath hold, and then you're going to teach yourself how to go from sympathetic fight or flight to rest and digest every single session, day after day, whilst training the breath holds, proper diaphragmatic breathing. And I truly believe that you do that for a month, you're going to have a mental breakthrough, you're going to have a physical breakthrough 100%. I've seen it across every single person I've given the Vortex to, not even clients, and they've just done it for 30 days. They're like, my entire life is different. My brain is operating different. I don't have intrusive thoughts. I healed my injury. I blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, I don't even need to be coaching. It's just do this.
Okay. I'm going to commit to that.
Okay.
I'm going to commit to one
Let's
a day
go.
Vortex breath for the next month.
Okay.
Is that what you would recommend for me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Done.
And it's perfect because, bro, you're going to love it because it makes meditating so easy.
Yeah.
Compared.
Yeah.
You just zone in, you command your nervous system to chill, and then you're able to sit there in stillness for a long time. And that's why I think it's so successful, is like the most important part really is the meditation after. But it's also, without the priming, then the meditation's not as effective. And so they work hand in hand. And so we're going to get all these resources, all this, we're going to fill the tank up with energy in the body. And then we're going to flip to rest and digest. So your body's in the most optimal state for healing with all of this energy. Now you're a flamethrower. You just focus it right on your heart or right on your knee or right on wherever you need. And energy flows where attention goes. And you just hold your attention there and you release all the tension as it comes up and the thoughts, and you let go, and you can just ride out the meditation for an hour plus. That will compound. I've got some quantifiable stuff coming out from the athletes I've been working with, and it's astounding because you're training your heart on a deep, deep, primal, ancient level.
Wow.
to make it more efficient.
I'm so curious to do the episode a month from now. Be like, I did the Vortex breath for 30 days and this is what happened.
Yes.
Right? That'll be an episode that we do.
I'm excited.
Because why Vortex? What does Vortex mean?
So the story really is that when I was healing from my injury, I was doing cyclic hyperventilation, Wim Hof method style breathing for 30 minutes to 3 hours a day. Way too much. I talked to a yoga instructor, breathwork instructor. She was like worried about my safety.
Oh my God.
And she was kind of valid because I passed out in the shower doing the breath work. I passed out driving doing the breath work. I passed out on a bench and concussed myself doing the breath work.
God, Nick. Holy shit.
Which is not the smartest stuff, but I was just pushing the limit and didn't know what I was doing. I had no instructor. I had no guidance. I was just sending it. And it wasn't
while
until
you were driving.
Yeah.
Bro. Oh my God.
Woke up in a different lane on the freeway.
Oh my God. Tell me about that. We'll go to the Vortex breath, but what the fuck happened? You woke up on a different lane in the freeway?
Yeah. I was doing basically Wim Hof while driving. I'm not a smart guy sometimes, but
it's fine.
But
you're a really smart guy.
Course.
That's the
No, I mean, I don't know. I was doing the Wim Hof and I was I'd already passed out a couple times doing breathwork, so I was like, I'm fucking good. But I was hungover, and that was a factor I didn't account for. And so I'm doing like a breath hold while driving on the freeway. On the exhale hold, you're usually good. Usually. I was good. And then on the inhale, I was like, oh yeah, I'm good. But my reaction, I kind of had this sort of reaction of like really pushing it a little bit too much. And I just held that for a little too long. Woke up in a different lane. And
like on the same side of the road.
I was actually not even in a different lane. It was a 2-lane highway. And I was on the like side, right before the wall. I was like in the I was on the
pullover zone.
The pullover, not the pullover, but the pullover lane, the side lane, whatever.
Right. And you just it was after how long? You must have been just a second or two, or?
I think it was just a couple seconds, because that's what happened. If you're really oxygenated, you'll pass out and you'll come back to right away. That's happened every time. Come back to right away. But you're also like, whoa, you did just like, you went out, the lights went out for a moment there. So that was an experience, and I was doing breath work in the car for a while, which I would not recommend.
Do not do breath work in the car or in the shower. Please.
I will say you get to a certain point where the shower is not bad.
Okay.
It's not too bad, but I wouldn't be doing any breath holds or muscle squeezing or exercises or anything in the shower. But like doing some tapping into the breath in the shower is actually an advantage for people, because like sometimes you're in a home with a bunch of people. You don't have any privacy. Sometimes you're on the road and you're going to hotels, and the only moment you have is like in the shower. It's like your little moment in the shower. It's like, do some breathing there. You're tapped in. You're also getting doused by water, and you're 60+% water, and you can start humming and you start tuning yourself, and the water inside of your body starts resonating. And so it's actually powerful. But anyways, that's a tangent.
Good tangent.
We could go down, but yeah.
Vortex breath. Yep. To come back to, how did it get this name?
So after the after the passing out on the road, month before Olympic trials, I concussed myself, passed out on a bench doing the breath work, came back to, recognized that I'm suffering from autonomic dysregulation, which is basically my nervous system is all fucked up. Because I was basically living in fight or flight, full blown, like hyperventilating all day, working out all day, and then going to school and
not realizing it? Or you did realize it?
I it was an interesting, like, supercharged in my nervous system, ramped up, but also really relaxed and not reacting.
How could someone know that they are dealing with that?
It's such a subtle feeling, like, because mentally what happened to me was I became so calm mentally that the charge in my body was not registering. It's like I was so disassociated from my body even during that time in my life that my body's spinning the wheels 100 miles an hour and my mind's so dialed and calm that it's like not even affecting me in the way that would register, oh, yo, you're in fight or flight.
Wow.
It's like, this is just me being chill.
Wow.
Because what happens when you do breath work and you're training your CO2, how much CO2 can you handle on your breath holds? You're training your nervous system to be less reactive to everything in life.
Mm.
And that's a huge, huge component to breath work that people overlook. It's like, you don't have to react to everything. The email, the text, taking away from your presence doesn't have to be that way.
Mm.
For me, again, I didn't have a coach. I was just this like breathwork cowboy.
The breathwork cowboy.
And the Vortex came into play with, let me do some sympathetic fight or flight type breath. And then let me finish always with parasympathetic rest and digest. Let me get a bunch of energy, switch to rest and digest, stillness, meditation. That's how I healed my concussion before Olympic trials. And that is the formula that became the Vortex method. The Vortex method came from the Vortex breath, which is a breath sequence based on the Fibonacci sequence. 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55, etc. You can go up, you can go down. And so what I do for this Vortex method is I've basically used that Vortex breath as the inflection point from breath work to meditation. So we go big, big breaths, and then we do the exhale hold, and then we do big circular breaths, 6 in, 6 out, to circulate all the energy that we just cultivated. And then we concentrate all of that energy with the Vortex breath. And then you meditate from there. So it's this concentration of all of your energies to a singular point. And that singular point this morning was the left side of your brain, and then the right side of the brain, and then the heart, and then wherever else you wanted to send it in the body. It's like you're just raising all of this power within you and energy, and then concentrating it in a vortex of energy. Your heart is a vortex. The DNA helix looked at from top down is golden ratio, Fibonacci sequence, all these so many proportions in nature. And I believe that when you attach a mathematical rule of nature to your breath, some really powerful stuff happens. You can do 3-6-9 breathing. I'll show you that later. It feels real. And that gets to the point as well of, with the Vortex, we're going 13 in, 13 out, 8 in, 8 out, 5 in, 5 out, 3 in, 3 out, 2 in, 2 out, 1 in, 1 out, hold. It's like we're going from big breaths to small breaths. Scattered consciousness, concentrated consciousness.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
That's the reasoning behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think having that knowledge of like, why am I doing this is helpful for the future for myself of, wow, okay, so the purpose is to direct my attention and focus into one single breath. And we can start by going 13 in, 13 out, and then 8 in, 8 out, and then 5 in, 5 out. And then it gets to a point where it's 1 in, 1 out. And that the purpose of that is so that you can direct your focus, that all of the 13 seconds now can get into 1 second. And you really don't have time to think when you're doing 1 in, 1 out. It just, there's no thought that's possible, really.
Well, yeah. Yes and no. But
tell me more.
it's so much to say. But for the 1 in, 1 out. Like this morning, what I had everyone do was, okay, we're going to do the vortex breath where it's like 13, 8, 5, 3, 2, 1. But then I'm like 1 in, 1 out, 1 in, 1 out, 1 in, 1 out, 1 in, 1 out. And that's sort of like Buteyko breathing, where you're breathing as little as possible. And you may have been breathing that way, but ideally you're breathing completely silently, perfect tiny circle. Up on the inhale, down on the exhale, up on the inhale, down on the exhale. Perfect. Smooth, barely breathing. That, in my opinion, is what accumulates consciousness, presence, power. Like, that is it. The smaller you're breathing, the more uncontrolled your breathing is, the more present you are.
And that's what's so confusing in some sense, because what we're aiming for in parasympathetic, in the rest and digest, is slow breaths. But now we're talking about when we're most focused, we're taking short, quick breaths. How do those?
No, most focus is slow.
Right.
Smooth, small.
Right. And so the purpose for doing these 1 second breaths is
to accumulate that consciousness and to lock you into a tiny little rhythm where you're just right here. And it's not.
Okay.
Because that's a little too aggressive. If you think about your physical body and organism, it's most safe when it's its most relaxed. So you're awake, but if you were stressed out, you'd be breathing more. So the more stress you have, the more you breathe. Well, the more you train yourself to barely breathe and be comfortable barely breathing, the more parasympathetic you're able to tap into, the more safe your nervous system feels.
And so there's a difference between and
it is quite the challenge, because I'm dealing with, okay, you could be breathing in for 3 seconds, like you're breathing in for a certain amount of time, a certain amount of fullness of your lungs, 1 in, 1 out, fullness and speed. So time, fullness, speed, direction of the breath, out, side, back, ideally. And then the mental intention too. So you can be saying 1 word on the inhale when it's 1 second in, and 1 word on the exhale, 1 second in. Faith, fear, faith, fear, faith, fear.
And saying on the exhale something you're resisting is beneficial because you're letting it go. Is that the idea?
It's a physical expression of release and letting go every exhale. But at the same time, you can be visualizing you breathing out love and breathing love in. It doesn't have to be a positive, negative.
Gotcha.
It can be positive, positive. It can be anything you want it to be, bro.
Bro, and this is why having a coach like you do this and explain this is so helpful, because how the fuck are you supposed to know the difference between and...
We should be taught how to breathe in elementary school.
Right.
I mean, it's like everyone's breathing. Life is one long breathing exercise, and no one knows how to breathe. I have some high-level guys coming up to me, and they're like, I don't know how to breathe. And it's so funny because I'm like, I know how to breathe. Yeah, sure, you can pay me. I know how to breathe.
And why do you have the resistance to being known as the breath guy?
Why did I?
Yeah. Because you mentioned that in the last episode.
Because I thought that society wouldn't respect it or care, or I thought that I needed to do something else to myself to prove to myself that I'm worthy of whatever, blah, 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 bullshit programmed nonsense.
I see.
Yeah. So.
It's so interesting, these stories.
Yeah.
Like, it's the coolest thing in the world that it's the most authentic and it's the most real. And it's the thing that you resisted the most.
I think that this was always going to come. Like, it was already, like, when I was working at my last job, I was posting on Twitter and making breathwork videos, and like, it's been this subtle obsession, and I've noticed that it's the majority of what I will think about is this kind of stuff. How can I help people heal themselves? What about this with the breath? What about that with the breath? How can we get more people doing breath work? How can we get more people meditating? Like, that's North Star. What are we doing otherwise, really? And that was in my mind working in oil and gas for 2 years.
Wow. So you're working in oil and gas, and then you're taking a shower being like, bro, I just want to help people with the breath.
I'm an energy worker.
Energy worker. Yeah, you are.
So I was like, let's disrupt the entire oil and gas industry and energy, and bring energy to second, third world countries all over the world, and expedite human prosperity through energy. And let me also help you with your own personal individualized energy. How do I manipulate my energy throughout the day for the best outcome? So it's just always been energy. It's always been electricity is my symbol in my life. Now it's the vortex a little bit. This light's a bit of a vortex.
It is. So
the vortex is just this, like, Victor Schauberger is this Austrian, I believe, or German scientist back in the day, 1890s, I think. And he built all of these crazy inventions based on water mathematics and vortexes and spirals, and it all started off with like a logging company where he figured out how rivers worked, the spiral of a river, and he was able to use water and man-made rivers to transport logs out of the woods by just putting them into his little river system.
Mm-hmm.
And he created a free energy generator, allegedly. I think that it's doxed by Rockefeller, but came to the US, came to Texas, came to Austin with his free energy generator. Never got called up by Standard Oil. And he is a massive inspiration for me because he was completely inspired by nature alone in all of the inventions that he made that have a massive difference in our lives even today. He's like basically the Nikola Tesla, but for water.
For water.
And water is where you can see the vortex, and there's so many metaphors where vortexes become applicable. So vortex mathematics, even from a psychological level, it's like, bro, I need to get the ocean in my mind super still so that there's actually like a reflection of the water in my mind. It's not this crazy ocean anymore. I get that super still. And then peak performance is now, let me start moving the water in a spiral and vortexing the water in a certain direction for my greatest outcome in life.
And this guy, what did he do that impacts us today?
He's got a lot of like farming inventions, patents that are still being used for agriculture, just certain inventions for water, specifically sprinkler systems. How do I use water in the most efficient way in my machine? He's a genius. There's like an hour-long documentary that you can watch so you get the full download because it's...
What's his name?
Victor Schauberger.
And just Victor Schauberger and type in documentary and it'll...
Yeah, I think it's VictorSchauberger. Yeah. You'll find him.
Cool.
He's like, it was really interesting because I worked in oil and gas for 2 years, so I learned a lot about like energy cover-ups on free energy generators. The big mission in my life is to create a free energy generator or like help bring something like that to the world, because you could fix a lot with free energy. And I truly believe that he created a free energy generator in the 1890s. And, he went to Texas. They didn't talk to him for 2 months. They kept him in his house. They said that he was going to get brought in and go to the factory and they were going to implement his technology worldwide and all this stuff. He went, they basically like examined his tech.
Who's that?
Standard Oil, Rockefeller.
Okay.
And then they sent him back to Germany and he died a month later. He was like sick in Texas, went back to Germany, died.
Oh, wow.
This is tinfoil hat stuff a little, but
I'm going to look into it.
The fact remains that there have been free energy generators created, and yet we're still using solar and wind and fossil fuels. And that makes me frustrated. And so,
and the free energy, like I can't even wrap my head around it. Like, as somebody who really hasn't given any thought to this until this moment, like what does that do?
he found a way to like take water and the gravity of water and put it through a machine that then spun a wheel, and the amount of energy needed from the water, it became a closed circuit system where the amount of energy needed to run it is less than the amount of energy it's kicking off. So you have a net positive amount of kilowatts coming off of the machine. So instead of like putting diesel into a diesel generator, you put water into it and you never have to touch it again, and it creates energy. And no emissions.
And with how it currently, how the process is currently working, I feel like this is genuinely like someone who is a grad student talking to somebody who's a second grader in me. How it currently works with energy is how?
Currently, we're digging up the majority of the energy worldwide. Really, really majority is still based on what we pull out of the ground, hydrocarbons. So oil, natural gas. We break that down into the shirt you're wearing and this microphone and whatever, but also like these lights. This is all electricity coming from a natural gas power plant somewhere nearby. And so that's how it works right now, is like we're just dependent on hydrocarbons for our energy. And that's why the US dollar is so strong, because it's because of the oil that we have and how we're sitting on the largest amount of undiscovered oil in the world, in America. And so it's just this, it is so intertwined with everything geopolitically, everything happening in the Middle East, everything happening worldwide. It's all energy. And if we got out of our own way and stopped being climate alarmists and actually allowed these these smaller, poorer countries access to oil, fossil fuels, they would lift their society up out of poverty much quicker than us being like, you have to use wind, you have to use solar, you have to use this, that, and the other thing. Give them the best, most reliable, easily transportable, safest energy, legitimately, that we have, which is oil and gas. Get them out of poverty into prosperity. Suddenly now we are betting on the ingenuity of the human minds of that country to help us create a better world.
Understood. Now, can we link it back to alignment with the person with all of this? Like on the individual basis, on the person who's listening right now, how does all of that relate to the human?
I think that the energy is, we could come at it from a couple different ways. For one, it's like, well, yeah, you need your Maslow hierarchy of needs met. You need energy and food and safety and security for your nervous system to feel good. Period. And once we have those needs met, then we are privileged enough and able to talk about, well, what does it really look like then? What do you really want to do? I think a lot of people are stuck on the paycheck to paycheck. Why would they care about the climate?
Right.
Why would they even care about alignment? They're in survival mode.
Right.
And so you have to get out of survival mode, because you have to get out of survival mode and go to parasympathetic rest and digest to assess things objectively, rationally, not have your nervous system having a say and, kind of sharp elbowing you into doing something in a reactionary way.
Yeah.
Let me just get my nervous system chill so then I can align. Only when you are chill and the waters are still are you able to point the ship.
That's a great line.
I just got the hit. I've believed that though.
But that's so true. That is so true. When your needs are taken care of, then you figure out, okay, meditate. Then you figure out, okay, breath work. Okay. But your needs are not taken care of. You're just you're trying to figure it out. And sometimes that's based on the energy of the society that you were just born into, that you don't have a choice about.
So the bigger way we can take this is, the more people we lift out of poverty, the quicker our collective consciousness will rise. And that's what I was trying to do with oil and gas.
I see.
You can also take it from the perspective of, okay, you're some dude that's like barely making ends meet and you don't have enough money and you think that but the problem is you fall into this negative feedback loop where it's like, actually you should put your needs ahead of paying rent. You should be parasympathetic. You should be meditating. You should be doing breath work. You should be taking care of yourself first and foremost and filling up your cup. So then you can be the most effective. That's like Gandhi saying, oh, I have a busy day today. I'm going to meditate for 3 hours instead of 1.
Right.
It's like he just knew what that meant for him and how much more efficient he would be throughout the day by doing that. I think that's where people have their biggest opportunities. Like they think they don't have time for meditation, right. But your 30 minutes in the morning will save you 2 hours throughout the day at least.
And it will save you years down the road of you going down the route that is you trying to beat somebody that it doesn't even matter about you beating.
Revenge.
Right.
Hormozy revenge.
Right. It's like, you don't need to do that, man. You don't need to.
Guys hate hearing that though.
I know. Because it threatens the survival part of them that has been working their whole life to prove to their dad that they were good enough.
Pretty much on the head there.
Only from lived
Depends on the person, but yeah.
Only from lived experience am I giving that example. Because I know myself and I know I was subconsciously trying to prove to my dad that I was enough. But I hadn't looked at the truth of the situation and where I was coming from and why I was doing the things that I was doing. And it was just a program that was passed down from my dad, from his dad, from my dad's dad to his dad. And over it goes until someone looks at it and said, is this really true? Is this really the highest good for everyone, for myself, for you, for the whole system? The answer is no, it's not. And that threatens the part of you that was born, the ego in you that wanted so badly to be loved by the person who you were raised by.
Yeah, I love the challenge of getting someone who's in that place to see that side, but then to fully like step in and embody that side and then see the benefits.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, I get it.
Right.
That is so.
I know. And this is the thing. I was listening to our podcast and I was like, I really hope it comes through that I actually live this. That if you lived with me for a week, you would see that I'm actually coming from a loving place. That every action I take in my bones is coming from non-stress, is coming from joy and peace to the best of my abilities. And when I fuck that up, which I inevitably do because I'm a human being, I just try to say, it's okay. Let's come back to center. I know what the North Star is. And if you saw me do that, if someone walked around and saw you do that, it would change what they view as possible for themselves. And it would change how they think about life. And I know that because I've gotten so many reflections from people outside of the system that I'm in, come in and say, how you live is inspiring me. And I've heard that enough times from enough different people who don't know each other, who don't know me, for me to say, okay, I am tapping into something that is really special and that I want more people to feel. This is coming from a very genuine place. We are launching Alignment Academy sometime in the next week, sometime in the next 2 weeks. And we are coming from the place of, this is really how we live. This is the truth of our being. Everything we do is for the highest good of ourselves and others. And we just want to give that to people. So.
Yeah, it's real. I've seen it. And your ability to be in a rest and digest parasympathetic with people gives them permission to be safe as well.
Yes.
And so not only are you talking to them about their dad,
yeah,
but they're also feeling like their nervous system literally on a subconscious level will resonate and then meet your resonance. And then suddenly you guys are connected and tapped in together and you guys are having he's like, it will connect then. That's why you're talking to someone, you guys don't have a connected nervous system, you're not really there, and he's like, whoa, this guy has his wall up, or he's like not paying attention, he's on his phone. It's like totally, totally different than dropped in with someone on something, and then they're also feeling an outpouring of love from you.
Yes.
And that's real. And I've seen that every single time I've been with you. I mean, that's real. And we can only practice what we preach, and we can only speak on our own experiences, and whoever resonates. I'm really not concerned about it, because it's special. It's special stuff.
And the deep part of that sticks out to me is this idea of like, you can feel when somebody you're talking to has or has not dealt with themselves the thing they're telling you to deal with. And we know that at a subconscious level of like, I know this guy knows that and he's right, but he hasn't dealt with that himself fully. We know. We know consistency in somebody's being. And I think if I really were to try to analyze it, I think that's what people are picking up with me in this moment of my life. And it hasn't always been this way, but I really feel in a deep sense, people are picking up, oh, this guy is actually living in love, and he actually is saying the thing and living the thing that he is talking about.
Where it comes from is where it's felt.
Where it comes from is where it's felt. Yeah.
So if I'm speaking from my lower energy centers, that's what's vibrating with yours. My heart, speaking from my heart, is what's going to resonate with your heart energy center, if you want to go down that line of thinking. So I believe that, but also regardless, where you're speaking from is what matters. And you're speaking from that place of knowingness and embodiment. You are not conceptually speaking. You're not speaking from, I understand this conceptually. You got to let go of your dad's trauma.
I dealt with this shit.
It's like, no. Yeah, exactly. And you feel that. I feel it right now with you just saying that right now.
Yeah. It's real.
It's resonance in the voice too. You can tell the voice is everything.
Yes.
You can really tell where someone's coming from when they're like, I am talking from this, and then this happened last weekend, and now I got this thing, and
What are they?
I'm speaking from up here, my throat chakra is blocked or whatever. Super esoteric stuff.
Good.
Maybe for the listener, I don't mind. We can take it anyway. We can talk about, you want to talk about physics? Let's talk about physics. But I find it so fascinating being like, let me stop thinking about this interaction with Danny in the podcast room, and let me just feel. And we're just playing this game. We're manipulating energy and sending it back and forth and feeling what you feel, feeling what I feel. I give you love. I receive love from you. And it's this upward spiral. And that's what happens when people show up, I think. And I've seen this, just you walk into a coffee shop and then someone's like kind of glum. And you're like, hey, what's up? and they light up, and then they open up, and then they're dropped in, and then they have a transformation, and then things are different for the rest of their lives. And I've seen that multiple times.
It's real.
More than a handful. And it's real.
Yeah.
So what's true is what works. Your experience and your embodiment works.
And I hold it for others. I hold that that's possible, not just for me. It's not, I have some special gift. I'm this unique human being who only can do. No, you can do this too. You do the practices that are good for you. You look at the places you're not free over and over and over again. You become aware of more information. And that information allows you to approach life in a different way.
Same with the breath. It's like, everyone can do this, bro.
Right.
I know that everyone can do this. And I know that even if you're on a hospital bed right now listening, you can do this. You can breathe yourself back to health. You can overcome it and float over it. And really just, once you heal in the mind, that's what I think is going to be curious for me to see when you do your vortex breath every single day for a month, is that every single person that does it feels a massive breakthrough mentally before they have the physical breakthrough. It's always a mental breakthrough first that happens. It's like, oh, I'm feeling just a little better today. I feel a little more present today. I don't know. The next week, their injury's gone. I'm like, yep, thought so. It's all mental. Neurological is the origin point in the body. Nervous system's just your brain spread through your whole body. And then once you fix that little thing in the brain, then that part of the nervous system heals too.
Your nervous system is your brain throughout the body.
That's something I say.
That is so good. Your nervous system is your brain throughout the body.
Spread through the whole body.
And this is, oh, dude, I love this so much. Oh man, I have goosebumps. You see that?
Yeah.
The reason why I have goosebumps is because in our current society and paradigm, the brain is the most important piece. A smart person is more important than a sensitive person. And when you say your nervous system is your brain throughout the body, you're meeting people where they are in the current society of brain being most important. And you're saying, hey, your brain, maybe it's the most important, but it's also throughout your body. And your body is running the show. And if you can think about your brain in your body as your nervous system, you can be more embodied as a human being, aka you could be a feeling human more, aka you could be more sensitive, and that could be a positive thing instead of something that we looked at 20 years ago as being a little bitch, as something negative. Being sensitive is bad and wrong and weak is how most people would have phrased it. But if you think, let me improve my nervous system because it's my brain in my body, that gives you more access to more information, which makes you more embodied.
Yes. I feel everything with my brain throughout my entire body. It's just me. I am embodied feeling and sensitive. And yes, people are going to, maybe they hear the word sensitive. They're like, I don't want to be sensitive. It's like, you are anyways. Your body's freaking out right now. You're just not listening. You're up in your head, spinning the wheels with the handbrake on. It's already sensitive, and it's more sensitive because you haven't told it that it's safe. You haven't learned to deal with the reverberations of the nervous system. When I tell you, I don't like you, this, that, and the other thing, or you meet some guy on the subway and he tells you some mean stuff, it's like you feel it. It's your brain being afraid, spread throughout your entire body. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good. That's some good shit.
Came to me.
He's an open channel.
Not now, not today. This is something I truly believe in because we want to put in parasympathetic and peripheral nervous system and sympathetic nervous system and enteric nervous system and central nervous system. I'm like, dude, it's your brain. It's all of your beliefs and thoughts, past experiences, scars through the whole body. So then when a pattern shows up and your nervous system doesn't know time, it's going to think that, oh, this is happening and this is I feel like I just let down the whole football team again and blah 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 blah. And like that was me in high school, like let down the whole football team, nervous system went out awry, felt like social suicide, and I missed a tackle at the end of the game and I blamed it all on myself. Stupid. But my nervous system would perpetuate that throughout the rest of my athletic career.
Right. So break that down for me, healing from that. Because that's a situation everybody listening can relate to, of letting someone down or feeling like they let someone down. So what actually happened was Nick missed a tackle in a football game. His body and brain took that to mean what about Nick?
That I am not good enough, unworthy of love, undeserving of unconditional love, not accepted, not strong enough, not smart enough, not quick enough, blah, blah, blah.
Wow.
Could keep going.
Wow.
But that was like my nervous system, which is your nervous system is very smart. It's also very stupid. So my nervous system took that as literally a life or death situation where I thought I was going to be cast out of the tribe and die alone in the jungle. And that's what happens when people let people down or get attacked by a group. That's why public speaking is so terrifying. Because you make a joke when you're public speaking and no one laughs at it, your body's like, we're going to die. Your nervous system, your brain is like, you're going to die. What? You gave your brain and body a job. You gave yourself a job. You gave Nick a job Danny a job to be safe and accepted in this society by these rules. It's an impossible job because it means everything. I need to email this person the right way. I got to text this person back the right way.
Right.
It becomes a matter of life or death.
Let it the fuck go. But I want to hear how you personally, okay, so.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't go overcome that until even after my athletic career.
Of course. So in your athletic career, you're doing breath work, but you're on an athletic team, but you're still feeling the same feelings that you felt when you missed the tackle. At what point does that become something you could even acknowledge to yourself?
I didn't acknowledge that specific time until after my career, but I did acknowledge the patterns perpetuating themselves that were like, I don't believe in myself. I'm not good enough, not fast enough, don't belong here, not meant for this, not genetically gifted enough, didn't work hard enough, fucked up doing this XYZ thing, and now I'm not deserving. That would perpetuate my whole time, my whole career. And what it did was it made me give my power away to literally everything.
Yes.
Including the breath.
Yes.
It's like, I'm going to do breath work like this the night before a race because I'm not good enough. And I need to do this in order to beat them. I need to take these supplements. I need to do this nutrition. I need to do this extra. I'll do everything I can possibly do to win. And if I need to rely on external sources, I'll take whatever I can get.
Right.
1% better every day than everyone else will be something. Which, barring the breath, everything else was just cope for not believing in myself. Like I was training 500 plus hours a year, pretty much hating myself and not believing in myself, but whipping myself like a dog every day to go run 3 hours or go to the gym. And it was just fear, survival mindset.
And so at what point does that get reversed?
It got reversed like a year and a half ago. Yeah. Where one of the bigger things for me was I needed to slow down.
Yes. Yes.
I would just do things really fast. All day I'd be rushing. And it was just teaching my nervous system like scarcity. It's teaching my nervous system that I didn't have enough, that I needed to be more, that I needed to be better, that I needed to go, which is a lot of people, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
And so a big unlock, like one thing that broke the ice was leaning into meditation more than breath work. Started meditating, pure meditation for like 30 minutes every day. Maybe starting with 10 minutes of breath work, maybe, but I kind of wanted to just sit in the shit. And from that point, it was this overarching transition from fear to faith. I kind of conceptualized the blueprint. It's like, oh, this is what I have to do. Let me just do that every single day now. I think my X factor in life is just I can be consistent with stuff. So once I have the map and the body is the map, I know where to go. And that's what I did. And it was a year and a half of just intense work on myself to go from a fear-based mindset to a faith-based mindset. Huge shift in my life. And that fear-based mindset that was always looking for evidence that I was not good enough switches now to the evidence for why I can do what I want to do. I can bring into this world the dream that I have, etc. So it's like shifting the reticular activating system, the part of your brain that's focused on what to focus on. Focus it from, instead of all the evidence for why you are a piece of shit, to all the evidence for why you are amazing and incredible and deserving and worthy of everything that you could possibly dream of.
And how do you relate to that situation today? Missing that tackle in that football game?
I don't feel anything. There's no like distortion in the nervous system when I think about that moment. I'm sure if I went back there during meditation and went deep, there's always stuff that will like kind of come up.
Sure.
But I kind of don't feel like it doesn't have its hold over me anymore. And actually, I went from fear to faith mindset integrated without even going back to that memory. I didn't go back to that memory until Suzette last week.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that got pulled back last week.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was like, oh yeah, but it's been in the back of my mind, but when I talked to her, we had a conversation very deep and liberated some of that fear stored in the fascia and the muscle tissue for sure. Wow. Just by feeling those feelings of like sitting there in my football helmet, 12 years old, like crying.
Wow, this is 12.
Yeah.
Holy
must have been 12. Yeah.
Holy shit. And this is it's so interesting because there are stories from us being 12 that we haven't looked at that are shaping our reality in some way. And if we can open ourselves up to the possibility that knowing them and having the courage to look at them is actually the key to our freedom, there's a lot there.
What would you say to younger men that don't want to do that? They hate their minds, but they don't want to change things by going backwards like that. They want to just conquer in the material world.
Yeah, I think this has changed for me in the last year. A year ago, I would say, dude, like you actually have to meditate. Like it's really important. Like, and today I would say, conquer the material world. Like do what you feel is right. I trust you completely, totally. And I have the utmost faith that everything is happening perfectly. And so if you have some desire in your heart to do this thing based on your trauma, God bless you. I'm for God, and God is everything that has happened and everything that is currently happening. And so, yeah, do you. I have no expectation for you to do anything differently. If you are listening to what we're saying and you're like, I'm an hour and a half into this podcast and these guys are making a lot of sense and I like how they've analyzed their life, and then join us, Alignment Academy. Join our email list and we'll have the latest updates and our social media and all that stuff. But to guys who want to conquer, like do it.
And I think you can do both. Yeah. I think it'd be more expedient to do. That's what I've recognized as a peak performance guy is like, oh, I think the impulse of the spirit that is fear, I thought that was peak performance. Yeah, and it's really powerful. Of course, you can run from a saber-toothed tiger really fucking quickly.
Yeah.
Because you're afraid you're going to die.
Yeah. But running to your child who needs saving or who you just are so excited to see, that's also a lot more fun.
Yeah, it's more fun. It's also like in the saber-toothed tiger scenario, it's like, let's say if you just make it to that tree, you'll live. You'll live. You'll climb up on the tree if you just make it to the tree. Run to the tree. Have faith that if you make it to the tree, you'll live. If you knew that, you would run even faster. So that's another impulse of the spirit that's at play.
Yeah.
These two polarities and extremities that I think, yes, you got to go through some coal, some negative energy, some darkness, villain arc, Batman type, whatever. That whatever resonates. I mean, that was me.
Me too.
But once you swing to the other side of faith and light and love, you can fuse fear and faith together. And fear no longer is this hectic energy that bleeds into every single one of your days. And you go have some like villain arc gym session, but then the rest of the day you're in a bad mood and outpouring edge, lame, dark, me. Like that was me.
Yeah.
But until it's like, oh, breath work, I can just shut that off. And then we are in faith the rest of the day and feeling good. Like it gives you that control for one, but it's the fusion. It's like Michael Jordan was so much faith in himself, but he's also picking out people to target. Like he's like this ruthless competitor, and why I admire MJ so much is because of his presence. And that was his peak performance. It's like, yes, he had these mental frameworks, but then purely tracking on the field, on the court, pure presence. So I believe that like faith and fear for a younger guy that wants to just conquer and whatever, it's like, well, why can't you do that from a place of faith in yourself without having to beat the shit out of yourself every day?
Yeah.
Like, just ponder it.
Yeah.
Because I thought that, and I would scoff at those, woo-woo bullshit. Nah, just shut up and work. And it's like, no, that is that is what we're talking about. Is like, yeah, get up, suit up, and shut up and do your work.
Right. Do the work.
You have to. Like,
Right. Do the
you can
work.
do it efficiently.
Do the work that's going to align you with God.
Yeah.
Right. That's the thing you really don't want to do that you're scared to do. Do that. Like, and then what kept coming through when you were talking is this idea that I stumbled upon this weekend, which is that life is a vacation for the soul. You're in this human body and you chose to be here in this human body that you chose to be in, and you are on vacation. Your soul is on vacation. Do you want to be on that beach, fucking pissed off and angry? That's one way to go on vacation, to be upset and wishing you weren't on the beach. Another way to go on vacation is to enjoy the fucking journey. And I have had so much enjoyment enjoying the journey. And I've had so much suffering when I wasn't in that frame of mind. And so if you really settle in and be with the idea that this life that you are currently living is a vacation for your soul, how does that change how you navigate through your day-to-day? If you knew that you were on vacation, would you still be doing that thing that you didn't like to be doing? Would you still be talking to that person who you actually don't view as a friend? Would you actually start viewing it as a vacation and see what happens in your day-to-day? Just because you're on vacation doesn't mean you can't work. Doesn't mean you can't enjoy yourself doing something difficult. Doesn't mean you can't run an Ironman while you're on vacation. Just bring that idea into your awareness that you're actually here to take a break. What is that? How does that land on you?
I mean, that totally lands, and I'm going to implement it. I've, funny enough, been implementing sort of the opposite in some ways, but also similar, where it's like I've really been leaning into this and writing this down every morning. Like, I value every single hour of my day to be $100,000 plus. Every hour of my day is worth over $100,000.
Wow.
And leaning into that, where it's like, this is so precious. Mm-hmm. This moment, every moment. And you just start kind of moving differently in your life. You're like, oh yeah, we're going to do this. No, we're not going to languish in some doom scroll spiral.
Right. Right.
Although that happens. It's vacation after all. But for me, it's just been like more in flow that way. I'm valuing the moment. And in the moment more, I'm able to deepen into presence. And again, we kind of talked about it, but people are like, what is presence? We'll show you what presence is because it's real. I was that guy. I was like, I think is also very tied to ego when you're wanting to like conquer the world. Yeah. It's all about you. Yeah. It's Alexander the Great complex.
Yes. And
that is very tricky waters to navigate because the stakes are so high because it's about you and your name. And we talked about there's no stakes.
There's no name.
Yeah.
You are not a name.
But you'll get so much resistance to that.
Good. Give it to me. I'm here for it. It's not me anyway getting the resistance.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah. I love it. I just like tinkering with, well, how do you actually get that through to someone that's so caught up in the ego, but they also do know that there's another level, another gear?
Yeah. What about this one? You've lived 1,000 lifetimes.
Mm-hmm.
Does that take the pressure off this moment? Does that allow you to, for me, when I hear I've lived 1,000 lifetimes, it's like, okay, like I'll live probably 1,000 more. And so there's a lot less pressure on each moment. What about the purpose of life is to experience, just to experience what it's like to podcast with your friend, experience what it's like to hear other people on a podcast, to experience what it's like to be on a beach, to experience what it's like to have $100,000, to experience what it's like to help people. Life is just about experience. And so you don't have to judge any of these experiences as wrong or bad, or someone else's way of experiencing life is wrong or bad. Oh, you don't want to get into alignment? That's fine. You want to continue suffering? That's fine. That's your experience. That's what you choose to experience. And I'm here for you if you are experiencing, because the purpose of life is to experience, point blank, period. That's it. So don't worry. Don't sweat it. You're doing it right. Life is working out for you for your highest good. I know that without a fraction, a shadow of a doubt.
I have some guys that are going through that period where they're burning some dark energy.
Yeah.
And like you, I've been like, yeah, do it.
Yeah.
Burn it up.
Go. Enjoy it.
I almost think that it was a prerequisite for me.
Right.
I have to burn through it to get to that point where I spin out and I'm like, okay, we got to tap into a different fuel source here.
Right.
And that was just part of my journey, and that's beautiful. And I think that everyone has their own part of their journey where it's like the suffering creates the meaning. And that side of the spectrum, when you go to the other side of the spectrum, you're more sensitive and finely attuned to what it feels good, what it feels like to feel good. Yeah. It's like, oh, I didn't know I could feel this in my body. I didn't know I could feel this way. I didn't know I could be present. And it's like, that's always there for you.
Anything else from today? Anything else worth talking about? I mean, a lot of stuff, but
I mean, it was a wild morning this morning.
Yeah.
Doing breath work for my mom, who's like been in and out of the hospital the past week.
Happy birthday to your mom.
Happy birthday, Mom. Love you so much. Thank you so much for everything that you've done for me and everything you've done for all of our family. And so grateful for you. Thank you so much. And last night I was pretty worried. I was like, whoa, this is like some gnarly hospital, like going back and forth. She's in Mexico, her birthday. And again, it almost felt like kind of God timing. It's like, of course, morning of her birthday is when my breath work is scheduled. And so I kind of put on that like peak performance hat, like, all right, let's fucking lock in and do like a dialed breath work for my mom to heal her on her birthday, get her out of the doctors. Like, that was a powerful morning.
And she had never done a guided breath work with you before?
I turned her on to breath work and guided her through some Wim Hof, but that was the first time she went through my Vortex meditation.
Wow. On her birthday, when she's dealing with some stuff.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was powerful.
Wow.
So today, I don't have much really to say other than like, I'm just so grateful to her and so grateful to have been able to be of service to her. And it feels like God kind of being like, yeah, of course, step up, go do it for her and for everyone else. It's like, whoa. So it's this big expansion that is happening, which is cool.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
I felt that in you, just this presence and this power just came through so deeply and so strongly in the breath work. And I'm so excited for people to check it out and be a part of it themselves. And the fact that your mom got to experience that. And whenever we get to help the people who helped us, the people we respect, we're inbuilt to want to show love to, who have shown love to us. I mean, what better feeling is that? And to give your mom that gift this morning, I heard her after, and it was, I could feel how impacted she was by it. She was asking for another, like, where's the recording of this? And you're like, there's no recording. so it clearly impacted her at a deep enough level to ask about it, to want to do it again. Mm-hmm. And yeah, you just have a gift and you're using it and you're stepping into your purpose, your reason for being, and how differently I would imagine this feels than previous jobs, previous like even racing and all that stuff. Like it just sounds to me that you're in a deeper level of alignment than you've ever been before, which checks out since Alignment Academy is coming soon.
That is one thing I will say to people that are out of alignment is like, when are you going to stop playing small? Because you know you're playing small at some deep, like some level, you know that there's something you're not doing on a day-to-day that's keeping you from feeling the way you could be feeling.
Yes.
And I look back and I was like, wow, my entire career I was playing so small. Everything I had done was like playing it small. with super high stakes.
Playing small with super high stakes. That's what we do. When we play small, we make every moment so important and significant as a way to not realize the big picture. I've resonated with that so deeply. Of course, the drop shipping matters so much, and the job that I'm doing matters so much. Of course, the guest research matters so much when it's not actually fully aligned. Meanwhile, we could do a podcast. It could not be perfect in some way. Great. I know I'm in alignment. It doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
I could have a coaching session where I don't say the perfect thing and it's all good because I trust that the process is happening perfectly. And so I didn't trust that the process was happening perfectly when I wasn't really truly in alignment. So we make the situation bigger than it has to be when we are playing small. Fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, you put a bunch of undue pressure on yourself. I see it all the time. The Olympics, athletes cracking under pressure. And then the best athletes are like, there's no pressure here.
Because they're in alignment fully. They're not going outside of themselves. They know they were built and made for this moment. They're not second guessing. When they do second guess and doubt themselves, they come right back to, this is what I was put on this earth to do. So it's all good.
It's hard for people to get to that place, though. It's like once you find it, though, you can't ignore it. It's just so in your face, and that's
what we are helping people to do.
Yeah,
that's what we help people.
What evidence are you looking
place.
for? Find the evidence of the miracles in your life, because they're there. Once you start looking, it's true.
Okay, so that's okay. Do you have something to leave people with? My thing to leave someone with is I'm going to be doing the Vortex Breath every day for the next month. You heard it here first, and we will report how that goes at the end of the month. Do you have a challenge for people to do, for yourself to do? You just said, notice the miracles in your life, but I'm curious if there's anything else.
I think that it would be one of my favorite practices is set 1 or 2 alarms on your phone and make the label something that is pointing to the evidence you want to look at in your life. Why am I so healthy today? Why am I so happy today? Why am I such a good son? Why am I such a good father? Why am I so grateful today? Why am I proud of myself today, this morning? What was something I did this morning that I'm proud of? That's a label. You're like, oh, well, I went to the gym and I meditated and I da-da-da. Instead of having your brain be like, you're late. You're late. You need another coffee because you're tired. Da-da-da-da. Like, wrong evidence. Giving your power away. And when you make an alarm on your phone that's looking for the right evidence, suddenly your antenna is up throughout the entire day looking for that right evidence, where my alarm that comes on at 9:45 p.m. on my phone that says what was the best part of your day, my antenna's up right now and it's like, oh, probably my podcast with Danny. Yes. And then I'm able to live that in that moment throughout the day before the alarms go off, and I'm looking for the right evidence in my life now. So that's something that a listener can definitely immediately implement, like just one alarm at a random time in your day. That's, yeah. Why am I so grateful today?
Love it. Based Ethos, at Based Ethos on X and Instagram, at Hey Danny Miranda on my own. Please send us a message. Let us know what you enjoyed about this podcast, what resonated, what didn't. I love hearing from people, and I'm getting so many messages right now from people they're excited about the podcast coming back.
Nice.
And I'm so grateful to be doing this podcast series with Nick, and I just love the feedback, the communication, like we talked about in the last episode, of just listener and what is going on in their mind and how they're resonating with it and what's going through their body and mind. What insights are you having? So send me them, tweet them out, or post them on an Instagram story. I just love learning and love seeing how what we're talking about here in this little room is resonating far and wide beyond. And I have so much love for you for actually taking the moments out of your day to look for the light. And that's what this podcast is. It's just looking for the light. and you're listening right now, and I see you, I see someone listening to this episode for an hour and a half, I'm probably listening to it as well. And I'm recognizing you. I'm saluting you. I appreciate you because you are taking time out of your day to listen to us talk about how alignment is important to us and how it's ultimately important to you as well. So I have so much love and respect for you. We will see you in the next episode next week. Goodbye. Peace.
Goodbye. Thank you.